Alright, so cool. We're approaching the festival for 2023, and I felt like it'd be good to make a video specifically dedicated to comparing the previous festivals that we've had. 2021 and 2022 were pretty similar. They're not exactly the same, but I wanted to compare those two specifically, and just to have it here as a video on the internet, given that in 2023, I can just look at this video and then use it in the next year as well. But also for anybody who just wants a refresh on the previous festivals, I won't be going too heavily into the events, but more so just the units we got, the banner formats, and the chrono crystals in the entirety. There's not much more to say outside of that, so I think we should just get into 2021, then we'll move into 2022, and maybe just do some speculation for 2023. So of course, I think the biggest thing to start with would be the units. So we're starting it with a bang. 2021 festival has just begun. We got two banners off rip, two amazing banners at that, and the reveal was amazing. Show you some of the clips right now.
And I can't do that. They're playing Blizzard in the background, so I'll just play the clip silent on top of the commentary.
The build up and the hype to it was actually just phenomenal, given that the year before we had got Gogeta Blue and the Broly. So in 2021, we had got Goku Blue and Vegeta Blue, the tag unit. They were the first ever tag unit in the game. Having two units as one unit that you can repeatedly switch out and into was actually just amazing and literally mind-blowing. Their animations are probably dubbed as the best animations we've got in Dragon Ball Legends even to this date. So just seeing the unit in game, especially with the hype around the Broly movie as of recent times, it was probably like a year or two or maybe even 3 at that time, but still the Broly movie had been the most hyped thing we'd got out of Dragon Ball for a long time. The Blue Bros banner, it did not only have them, there was a Broly on the banner. He's green, he wasn't great though, and of course now he's got nothing to his name, so the Broly has seen no shine since. Blue Bros were, as you know, purple with the reverse tag switch, so they could switch from purple and reverse their element, where normally they'd be type advantage against a green unit. When they reverse, they would be type advantage to their weakness, which in that case would be any yellows that they face. So Vegeta is strong against yellows and Goku is strong against greens, but in the same way they reverse in their strengths, they reverse in their weaknesses too. So Goku, he's weak against yellows, but then Vegeta would be weak against greens, so you have to be very wary when using any tag unit. The banner had rates at 30%. 30% is crazy, but not just that, they had triple the Z power, which made it so much more valuable. Pulling one copy of a unit then getting 3 times the value of what you usually get is just mind-blowing, and they haven't done that since, to my memory. But if they were to do it, everybody would take advantage of it, and that banner would immediately become the most valuable thing in the game. Even if the unit isn't especially valuable, the fact that people can get that unit to 14 stars would make them more valuable than any other unit that releases regularly, when people only get them to 4, 5, 6, at max maybe 9 stars, outside of those that are extremely pay to win. That was only one side of the banner. There was another banner that dropped simultaneously, and yes, at the same time they dropped 2 banners, similar to the anniversary that we got this year with the Gammas and Orange Piccolo. The other side was Sword of Hope Trunks. He also had amazing animations. Obviously he was overshone by the Goku Blue and Vegeta Blue, but Sword of Hope Trunks was not to be messed with either. He was actually a phenomenal unit in PvP, and as of recent times he's got his Zenkai. Sword of Hope Trunks was blue and he came with endurance that was unfortunately conditional. Now it's very easy to access, but I think back then, before the Zenkai, or if you don't have him Zenkai'd, it only applies if you're using him with 2 or more, so including himself, Vegeta clan units or future units, which really shafts the potential that he had when it comes to the teams you want to use him on. For example, if you wanted to use him with Gohans on Hybrid Saiyans, that just wouldn't run, because Gohan in most cases is not from the future or Vegeta clan. Overall, it might not seem like it, but the Sword of Hope Trunks banner was actually as valuable as the Goku Blue and Vegeta Blue banner. I know back in the day, the veterans are going to come at me already talking about, oh, Mono Purple was unable to be beaten, but if you had a stacked future team, and I'm talking with Zimzam. Zimzam was the 1% sparking on the banner, is Goku Black and Zamasu as an assist unit. Assists aren't that popular nowadays, but back then they were quite new to the game, so every time we got an assist unit, everybody was like, wow, this is cool. Sword of Hope Trunks and Zimzam, they were just an amazing duo. Zimzam spawning a blue card out of nowhere was actually just so effective, and Sword of Hope Trunks having that layer of endurance and being one of the tankiest units in the game, and then having an ultimate that could one-shot you at any point once his gauge filled. You see him get that blue aura, literally a 1-to-1 copy of what happened in the anime. It's just super cool, and on top of that, he was super powerful. In the same way that the Blue Bros banner had 30% rates and 3 times Z power drops, the Sword of Hope Trunks banner also had that, so you didn't exactly have to choose one or the other. You could summon once for Goku Blue and Vegeta Blue, and if you got them, you got 3 times the Z power than you would have had, and you could be fine with that. Then you'd go over to the Sword of Hope Trunks banner, you do the same thing, and you'd have 3 times the Z power than you normally would. So in that case, no matter which one you decided to summon on, or if you summon on both, you'd be able to flourish. If you tunneled one banner, then in most cases, most people had them to 14 stars very easily. If not that, 12, 10, 10, which is a ridiculously high amount for the average player in Dragon Ball Legends to have, when most of the guys did not even have a high amount of Chrono Crystals to begin with. So those were the main two banners that we had in part 1. There was a part 2, and around this time everybody was pretty much anticipating the possibility of a summonable Ultra, and if you haven't guessed it already, this is where we got Ultra Super Gogeta, the first summonable Ultra in Dragon Ball Legends.
I'm neither Goku nor Vegeta. I'm the one who's gonna take you down.
This unit here was cracked beyond belief, and it's a fusion warrior, so you shouldn't expect any less. He was a blue unit, and he came with a unique gauge that was just out of this world. Every time he did a couple cards, he would fill his gauge and get a blue card. And yes, that happens for infinite times, and it only takes about 4 to 5 cards to fill his gauge. He gets ki and some damage buffs, and on top of that, his green card really made him the most menacing thing ever. He was able to get consistent cover now. That is a big deal. But what was great about him that really shocked everybody was the fact that he came with 2 ultimates. We had never seen a unit to have 2 ultimates. He would get his first one off his main ability, and he gets his second one when he's last stand. So if 2 of his allies are dead and he jumps into the battlefield, he immediately gets an ultimate art into his deck. Him having the strongest ultimate in the game was already enough, but then you're giving him 2 of it, and the fact that he would lock you in if one of his allies are dead when he switches in, that's a guaranteed body if he catches you, unless you're type advantage against guys like Zimzam, which is why he was so valuable alongside Future with Sword of Hope Trunks, whereas the mono purple team, they're just mono purple, but there wasn't really any yellows to really stop their reign, so you was pretty much good to roam with them. This is also around the time that God Rank actually appeared in the game for the first time, so that was also a cool addition to ranked PvP. I think the last thing you'd want to know about the 2021 festival was the amount of Chrono Crystals we got, so I think the easiest way to do this would be to include November and December, because in November is when the festival starts, but it doesn't start at the start of the month, so you have a lot of November to really build up the amount of Chrono Crystals that you're going to get, and then late November is when the festival starts. So I'll just count the whole month to make it easy. In November alone, we got 21,914 Chrono Crystals. In December alone, we got 28,668 Chrono Crystals, and if you add those together, that totals for an amount of 50,582 Chrono Crystals. So to keep it simple, 50,000 Chrono Crystals in the 2021 festival. Time to get into the 2022 festival, only naturally. So 2022 festival, the hype built up the same way, and the part 1 of the festival only released 1 banner, different to what we had the previous year. So at the start of the festival, we got a Super Saiyan 4 banner. You already know, Super Saiyan 4 Goku and Super Saiyan 4 Vegeta, the tag unit. This tag unit was a core fighting force to make GT a team that could thrive in any scenario, and they did exactly that. This unit here was able to tag in from Goku going into Vegeta. They had an explosive green on both ends, and Vegeta switching in would allow him to have cover null, only if he also has 2 allies that are alive. But when you switch back into Goku, he's able to draw a blue card, and that blue card, given that he has other cards in his deck, would actually restore his Vanish gauge. So you're able to easily perform 3v1s using this unit, because they also cover 2 elements with the reverse factor. If you're unaware of what the elements were, they're green, so Goku, he's type advantage against blues, but weak against purples, and Vegeta, if you reverse that, he's actually strong against purples, but weak against blues. They didn't drop alone though. They dropped with an Android 17 from GT, of course, and that Android 17 is still being used to this day. Not to say that the tag 4s have fallen off, but GT just can't thrive in today's meta unless you really have the whole team high stars with the best equipments available. But now and then you'll see the 17 pop in. His main ability allows him to lock in the enemy for about 2 to 3 time accounts. So with him being purple, he's able to really eviscerate any greens quickly, especially if you're using blast arts with him. And his green card allows him to nullify endurance, which is very effective if you want to pop a green card, pop the main, and also just rise and rush to take somebody out. Unlike the 2021 festival, they did not give us the 3 times rates on these banners. They had 2 times rates, so 20% and the 2 times Z power. That's not bad, of course, but when you up the value of banners like that in 2021 leading into 2022, you can say that the devs didn't meet the expectations of the people given how much value they gave those banners in the past. That was fully just part 1, just that 1 banner with 2 units. Going into part 2, we didn't even get a reveals and stuff for this, so I don't know what they were thinking, but through Twitter, SNS, they dropped Super Saiyan 2 Trunks and Super Saiyan God Super Saiyan Vegeta, or Vegeta Blue, as a tag unit. They are element yellow, so they had the reverse factor. Trunks is the one you start with, so he's actually yellow, so he's type advantage against purples and weak against red. But if you switch into Vegeta, he has the reverse, so Vegeta is strong against red but weak against purples. Most people, from what I saw anyways, were not in favor of this unit that much. They weren't hyped up by the devs since they just dropped them on Twitter. So without the reveal aspect, the hype wasn't there as much. And the animations, not to say they were bad, but they weren't the best that we've ever seen. It kind of just felt there was another tag unit, and by this point, we had already got quite a few tag units. This unit was able to do a lot of blast damage though, especially for the guys that are really dedicated to building Future or Vegeta clan. They were guys that really gunned for them and were able to show the full might that they could actually produce. So don't go too hard on them. But something that's not insane to say, and it was very clear from day one, the most valuable unit on that banner was not the premium unit. It was easily the Zamasu that was in addition to them, the 1% sparking. This Zamasu was blue and he came with endurance off rip. This Zamasu used to this day, he's a valuable asset to multiple teams. Regen, powerful opponent, Future, and he's able to break your combo due to him taking your key, and he can even extend his own combo and counter you using his green cards. He gets cover null from doing that and he draws an extra card. He's overall just very tanky as well, so that also adds to him being valuable, and because of the tags he just has a lot of Zenkai boss, which actually adds to him being more valuable. He was also blue, and everybody knows blue is just one of the most popular elements in the game, probably top 2, and that was all there was for part 2. Another just 2 units, part 1 same thing, part 2 same thing. Now part 3, there was big speculation of what we'd get for an ultra, and everybody was coping, and I mean coping for multitude of things. Fusion Zamasu, Vegito blue early on, but that's not what we got. What they released was an Ultra Gogeta blue, and now this unit really changed the game. Similar to how Ultra Super Gogeta changed the game the previous year, Ultra Gogeta blue was not here to play. He came with a counter mechanic. You guys know he says it's futile. Mudadana. How his gauge works, if you keep attacking him, he'll be building up his gauge. Once his gauge fills, he destroys all of your strike cards, with a few exceptions nowadays, and leaves you with only blast cards. And those blast cards, if you shoot one at him, no tap attacks though. So anything that's blast based, a green beam, a blue beam, yellow arts, so the blast arts, his counter will activate and he can chain an ultimate or a blue card into it. Also when his gauge fills, he goes type neutral. That's also just very effective. Now after a certain amount of timer counts, Gogeta blue becomes the most menacing unit in the game. He's able to do long combos, he can restore his vanish from his green card, he also gets type neutral from it by the way, and cover null. He really just has everything you need, and he's still being consistently used to this day. Overall just a very valuable unit, everybody really loves him, and again, he's a fusion warrior. You really can't expect less from them, man. They're so good. In the same way I calculated the chrono crystals for 2021, we got to do the same thing for 2022, so I'm going to be including November and December in regards to how many chrono crystals we got in the 2022 festival. So in November we got a total of 23,077 chrono crystals, and in December we got a total of 25,176 chrono crystals. If you add those two numbers together, you get 48,253 chrono crystals. And I'm sure you've already looked at that number and you're thinking there's no way they just gave us less chrono crystals than they did in 2021, but they really did. But let's get into comparing the 2 years a little bit. Let's start with the chrono crystals. I feel like the chrono crystals is like the biggest thing you'd notice straight away. They gave less in the following year. What? Nah, I think there's a lot of reasons to go into that, and the main one I want to point out is the fact that in 2021 we only had 2 parts. I think that's a very big factor to consider. If they drop 2 banners at once, people are going to need those chrono crystals immediately, and if anything they'd want more of them because they need to be entertained for that period of time. So with those 2 banners, even though they were more valuable, they gave more chrono crystals, and also adding the possibility that because they dropped their first summonable ultra, they gave more chrono crystals so that people could be satisfied regardless of if the unit was good or bad. Obviously the unit was cracked. People would feel justified when summoning for the banner, which would give them better results for the festival overall. If you take that in regards to 2022, they separated things. So in part 1 and part 2 we only got 1 banner each, so that gives people a lot more times to really calculate, and they're not thinking they've really pulled out everything for the festival instantly. With that as well, you also got to consider the gap between the unit drops. So for part 1 and part 2 the gap was probably way bigger, whereas in part 1 and part 2 and part 3 in 2022 the gaps are going to be much more smaller, so you just have time to wait naturally. Obviously that's just all headcanon. There might be no reason at all, they just decided to shaft us. Game is game. Looking at the units, I'd say the unit value was just way worse in 2022. Yes, tag 4s did do bits for GT. Trunks and Vegeta pretty much did nothing, and Zamasu took the spotlight. Ultra Gogeta Blue's an ultra, so of course he's gonna shine regardless. But if we look at 2021, it's a complete no diff. Every unit in the festival except Broly did bits, but the fact that the part 2 Legend Limited in 2022 did not shine, Trunks and Vegeta, you sold the whole thing, bro. You might have actually had better odds. I can really just say 2021 clears easily. Blue Bros also just have better animations than every unit in the 2022 festival. I might also throw in Sword of Hope Trunks in there if I'm being so honest, but I do like the Tag 4's LF a lot, even though a lot of people didn't like it on initial release. If I'm comparing PvP metas, I have to say the 2021 was worse. Mono purple being everywhere, it's just not a good look, man. And then the only other team you'd see was Future. And then when Ultra Super Gogeta dropped, you're really just running him on any team that you can. It was just a mess. God rank also releasing for the first time, a lot of people were just desperate to get high rank so that they can get the God rank. And as a result, everybody's running the sweatiest team they could. In 2022, there was a lot more variety. The GT nerds were coming out. The Future guys used the Future units. And then the Fusion guys came out for Ultra Gogeta Blue. Also considering we had Ultra Super Vegito dropping that anniversary. So there being more variety meant there was just a lot more peaceful. The God rank thing had already aged a lot, so a lot of people weren't desperate. But of course, there's still those guys that are just grinding and no-lifing the game like there's nothing else to do. If we look at the banner value, I'd say the banner value is exactly the same, besides from the rates and the Z power, which makes 2021 blow 2022 out the water. Just being able to get 3 times the Z power for pulling 1 copy is insane. Getting 2 times Z power, we've been getting that all year for every single banner, so there was nothing special about the festival banners with the tag 4s and the tag Vegeta clan unit, as well as the fact that the Ultra banner was just the same as every other one. For the guys that were there in 2021, it being that easy to pull a 14-star Blue Bros or a 14-star Sword of Hope Trunks should have been illegal, man. The way Blue Bros was carrying everybody to the top ranks and every single game you were just seeing them, that should speak alone for the amount of value that the banner had on its own. I guess animations as a factor, 2021 blows 2022 out as well. I don't need to go into details. Blue Bros alone solos. If we're looking at hype, 2021 also solos. Ultra Super Gogeta has the best soundtrack I've ever seen, and the build up into the Blue Bros reveal with the Sword of Hope Trunks reveal, unmatched to this date. Everybody knows that. The only thing I'd say would be pretty much better is the Ultra Vegito Blue reveal, because they went so overboard.
That was an okay shot right there though.
Oh my god, bro, is dick riding all you do?
But in terms of hype, I wouldn't agree with that necessarily. But we're not here to talk about anniversaries. But yeah, I think that's everything we need to go into when it comes to the 2021 and 2022 festival. Let me know what you guys think about the comparisons I made, and of course, which one do you prefer better overall? Of course, I'm taking the 2021 festival. Ultra Super Gogeta is my guy. He's my guy. I gotta back him to the death. I'm not even there for Blue Bros and Sword of Hope Trunks. I'm there for Ultra Super Gogeta. That's him. He's him. But yeah, press the subscribe button, man. We're on this grind to 100,000 subscribers. I appreciate you guys for watching the video. My name's Zakashi, guys, and I'll see you guys in the next one, man.